Anna Carter's dream of a writing workshop in Chicago turns into a nightmare at LAX when a snarky gate agent, Lisa, accuses her of stealing a business-class ticket. Her brother Ethan Parker's gift, dressed in a worn hoodie, Anna's pegged as an outsider. Things spiral fast. Security trashes her bag, shatters her mom's ashes, and labels her a criminal while the crowd films and jeers. Anna fights back, clinging to her dignity and her mother's memory, but the system's stacked against her. Then Ethan, a young millionaire, steps in, demanding justice. Will their bond and her courage turn this humiliation into something bigger? Stick around. This story of family, injustice, and defiance hits hard and leaves you wondering, can one woman's pain spark real change? Hit that like button, share your thoughts, and subscribe for more stories that cut deep. Anna Carter clutched her business-class ticket at the LAX check-in counter, her heart racing with anticipation for a Chicago writing workshop. The ticket was a gift from her brother, Ethan Parker, a young millionaire who believed in her dreams. Dressed in a faded hoodie and a worn backpack, Anna didn't look like the typical first-class passenger. Her eyes were fixed on the boarding pass, a symbol of her chance to honor her late mother's faith in her. But before she could step forward, Lisa Bennett, the gate agent, locked onto her with a smirk. "This ticket yours?" Lisa's voice was sharp, dripping with doubt. "Or did you grab it from someone who actually flies business?" Anna's stomach tightened, but she kept her voice steady. "It's mine. My brother Ethan Parker bought it." Lisa's laugh was loud, cutting through the hum of the busy terminal. "Ethan Parker, the millionaire, right? You don't look like you belong in his world." Anna slid her ID and boarding pass across the counter, her hands steady despite the sting of Lisa's words. She was used to judgment. Growing up in a working-class neighborhood, she and Ethan had faced plenty of sneers. But this was different. Lisa barely glanced at the documents before tossing them back. "Nice try," she said, leaning closer. "People like you don't just waltz into business class. What's the real story?" "I'm going to a writing workshop," Anna said, her tone firm. "Check the ticket, it's legit." Lisa's eyes narrowed, unmoved. "Oh, I'll check something, all right. I bet you're hiding more than a fancy ticket." Before Anna could respond, Lisa hit a button under the counter, her smirk widening. "Security, we've got a problem. This one's probably carrying something illegal. Drugs, maybe." Anna's breath caught. "Drugs? I'm just trying to get on my flight." Her voice rose, but she forced herself to stay calm, remembering her mother's words. "Don't let their eyes define you." She'd heard those words countless times, whispered during long nights when her mom came home exhausted from cleaning floors. But now, as two security guards, Mark Davis and Tom Reed, approached with stern faces, Anna felt the weight of those eyes heavier than ever. Lisa leaned back, arms crossed, enjoying the scene. "You heard me," she said to the guards. "She doesn't belong here. Look at her hoodie, beat-up backpack. She's trouble." Anna's jaw tightened. She wanted to scream that she wasn't a thief or a drug runner, that she was just a girl chasing a dream her mother had nurtured. But the guards were already closing in, their hands hovering near her backpack. "Step back," Mark barked, his voice low and commanding. Anna held her ground. "I'm not hiding anything. Check my ticket, call my brother, do your job." Her words were sharp, but inside, her heart pounded. She could feel the crowd gathering, their whispers buzzing like static. Phones came up, filming her every move. To them, she wasn't Anna Carter, a writer with a story to tell. She was a spectacle. A nobody who dared to step out of place. Lisa's voice cut through again, loud for the audience. "See? Too defensive. That's what liars do." Anna's hands curled into fists. She thought of Ethan, the brother who'd clawed his way from their rough neighborhood to build a tech empire, always telling her to stand tall. She wanted to call him, knowing he'd drop everything to help. But her phone was in her backpack, and Mark's hand was already reaching for it. "I'm not a liar," Anna said, locking eyes with Lisa. "You're wrong about me." But Lisa just smirked, nodding to the guards. "Go on, check her bag. Let's see what she's really carrying." Tom stepped forward, unzipping her backpack without hesitation. Anna's chest tightened as her belongings, her notebook, a pen, a crumpled protein bar, were about to be spilled out for everyone to judge. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, some pointing, others filming. Anna felt their stares like a physical weight, each one stripping away a piece of her. This wasn't just about a ticket anymore. It was about who she was, who her mother had raised her to be. She thought of her mom, scrubbing floors at this very airport, ignored by passengers like Lisa. That memory fueled her, keeping her upright as Mark began rifling through her bag. "You're making a mistake," Anna said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "And you'll see that soon." But as Tom dumped her notebook onto the counter, Anna braced herself. She wasn't just fighting for her flight, she was fighting for her worth, her family, and the dreams her mother had died believing in. And no one, not Lisa, not the guards, was going to take that away without a fight. Mark Davis didn't hesitate, yanking Anna's backpack from the counter and spilling its contents with a careless shove. Her notebook hit the surface with a thud, pages fluttering open to reveal her scribbled dreams, story ideas she'd poured her heart into. A pen rolled off, clattering to the floor, followed by a crumpled granola bar. Anna's breath hitched as she lunged forward. "Stop! That's my stuff." But Tom Reed blocked her, his hand firm on her shoulder. "Stay back," he snapped, his tone leaving no room for argument. Anna's eyes darted to her backpack, her pulse racing. Tucked inside was something far more precious than her notebook, a small glass vial, no bigger than a thumb, holding her mother's ashes. It was all she had left of the woman who'd raised her and Ethan through endless struggles, cleaning floors at LAX to keep them fed. "Please," Anna said, her voice trembling. "There's something fragile in there. Be careful." Mark ignored her, digging deeper. His hand closed around the vial, pulling it out with a grunt. "What's this?" he muttered, holding it up to the light. Before Anna could answer, his grip slipped and the vial fell, shattering on the hard floor with a sickening crack. Ashes scattered like dust, mingling with the dirt of the terminal. Anna's knees buckled. She dropped to the ground, hands scrabbling to gather the fragments, her fingers shaking as tears blurred her vision. "Now," she whispered, voice breaking, "that's my mom. That's all I had of her." The crowd's murmurs softened for a moment, a few faces showing flickers of sympathy. But Lisa Bennett's voice sliced through, cold and mocking. "Ashes? Nice story. Probably just some cheap prop to play the victim." Anna's head snapped up, tears streaming down her face. "She was real," she said, her voice raw. "My mom worked here, cleaning your floors, taking your insults so I could have a chance. And you broke her." Lisa crossed her arms, unfazed. "If she was anything like you, she probably deserved it." The words hit Anna like a fist, stealing her breath. She clutched a shard of the vial, its sharp edge biting into her palm, grounding her in the pain. Her mother hadn't deserved the sneers she'd faced, the passengers who'd stepped over her mop like she was invisible. She'd been the strongest person Anna knew, fighting cancer with a smile, whispering to Anna and Ethan to keep dreaming, even as she faded. Mark kicked at the ashes with his boot, muttering, "Just a mess to clean up." Anna's chest heaved, anger surging past her grief. "She wasn't a mess," she said, her voice rising. "She was my mom, and she was worth more than you'll ever understand." She scooped up what ashes she could, her hands trembling, each speck a memory, of bedtime stories, of her mom's calloused hands braiding her hair, of the pride in her eyes when Anna wrote her first story. Tom rummaged through the rest of her bag, tossing her notebook aside like trash. A page tore free, floating to the floor, and Anna's heart sank. Those were her words, her way of keeping her mother's spirit alive. "You have no right," she said, glaring at Tom. He shrugged, holding up a water bottle. "Nothing illegal yet," he said, "but quiet types like you always hide something." Lisa leaned over the counter, her smirk widening. "Told you she's trouble. Probably stole that ticket from someone who actually belongs in business class." The crowd buzzed louder, phones still recording, some whispering about that girl who didn't fit. A man in a suit muttered, "She looks like she's up to no good." But a young woman nearby shook her head, whispering, "They're being too harsh." Anna's face burned, not from shame, but from the injustice of it all. She wasn't a thief or a liar. She was Anna Carter, a writer, a daughter, a sister. She thought of Ethan, who'd faced his own battles, dismissed as a nobody before he built his empire. He'd told her once, "They'll try to make you feel small, Anna. Don't let them." She wanted to channel that strength, but the ashes on the floor felt like a wound that wouldn't close. "I'm not hiding anything," Anna said, standing slowly, her voice steady despite the tears. "My brother bought that ticket. Call him if you don't believe me." Lisa laughed loud and cruel. "Oh, I'll just ring up Ethan Parker, the millionaire, to vouch for his hoodie-wearing sister." "Sure thing." Anna's hands clenched, the vial shard cutting deeper. She could call Ethan. She knew he'd come running. But part of her wanted to fight this alone, to prove she wasn't just Ethan's sister. Mark grabbed her arm, pulling her back from the counter. "Enough talking," he said. "You're not going anywhere until we're done." Anna yanked free, her voice rising. "You're done when you admit you're wrong." The crowd gasped, some cheering, others shaking their heads. Lisa pointed, shouting, "See? She's violent. I knew it." Anna's heart pounded, but she stood tall. The ashes at her feet a reminder of who she was fighting for. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind. "You're enough, Anna. Always." And no one, not Lisa, not the guards, not the crowd, could take that away. Anna Carter stood trembling, the sharp edge of the broken vial cutting into her palm, her mother's ashes scattered at her feet. The LAX terminal buzzed with the crowd's whispers, their phones still filming, but she refused to crumble. Lisa Bennett's cruel laughter echoed in her ears, and the security guards Mark Davis and Tom Reed loomed close, their faces set in judgment. Anna wiped her tears, her voice steady despite the ache in her chest. "I'm not a thief," she said, locking eyes with Lisa. "Check my ticket. It's real." Lisa smirked, unfazed. "You're not fooling anyone," she said, nodding to the guards. "She's just stalling." Anna's heart pounded, but she thought of her mother, who'd faced worse. Passengers yelling, bosses belittling her. Yet, she'd never bowed. Anna wouldn't either. She reached for her backpack, pulling out her phone. "Here," she said, opening the email from Ethan. "The confirmation's right there. My name, my brother's payment." Mark snatched the phone before she could hand it over, tossing it onto the counter. "We'll get to that," he said, his tone dismissive. Anna's jaw tightened. "No, look at it now." "I'm not hiding anything," but Mark ignored her, turning to Lisa. "Call the manager. This one's trouble." Anna's stomach sank. They weren't listening, not to her words, not to the truth. They saw her hoodie, her worn backpack, and decided she didn't belong. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, some muttering about security risks, others whispering sympathy. A teenage girl in the back said, "She's just trying to explain," but an older man snapped, "She shouldn't have caused a scene." Anna felt their eyes like a vice, squeezing her into a box she didn't fit. She wasn't a criminal or a liar. She was a writer, chasing a dream her mother had believed in. That dream felt so close, yet it was slipping away with every second. Lisa leaned forward, her voice loud for the crowd. "You say your brother's Ethan Parker? Prove it. Where's your millionaire now?" Anna's fingers tightened around the vial shard, the pain grounding her. "He's my brother," she said, her voice low but fierce, "and he'll tell you himself." Lisa laughed, the sound cutting deeper than the glass in Anna's hand. "Sure, sweetheart. I'll just wait for him to swoop in." Before Anna could respond, Brian Foster, the area manager, pushed through the crowd. His tie was crooked, his expression impatient. "What's going on?" he demanded. Lisa jumped in, pointing at Anna. "She's got a suspicious ticket, claims her brother's Ethan Parker. I say she stole it, probably hiding drugs too." Anna shook her head, stepping forward despite Mark's glare. "That's not true. I'm just trying to get to Chicago for a writing workshop. My brother bought the ticket. Check my phone." Brian glanced at the phone on the counter but didn't touch it. "We have procedures," he said, his voice flat. "With these accusations, your ticket's on hold until we verify." Anna's heart plummeted. "Verify? It's right there. My name, Ethan's payment, everything." Brian crossed his arms, unmoved. "You're causing a disturbance. That's enough to keep you here." Anna's voice rose, cracking with frustration. "I'm not causing anything. They broke my mom's ashes, trashed my stuff, and called me a liar. All because I don't look like your idea of business class." She turned to the crowd, her eyes blazing. "My mom cleaned floors at this airport. She taught me to work hard, to dream big. That's why I'm here. And you're punishing me for it?" A few in the crowd nodded, their faces softening, but Brian's expression didn't budge. "Step aside," he said, gesturing to the guards. Mark grabbed Anna's arm, pulling her back. She yanked free, her voice shaking but strong. "Don't touch me. I'm not going anywhere until you fix this." The crowd erupted, some cheering, others gasping. Lisa shouted, "She's violent, I told you!" Anna's chest heaved, her mother's words echoing, "You're enough, Anna." She thought of Ethan, who'd fought his own battles against doubters who saw only his rough edges, not his brilliance. Brian waved a hand. "Take her out of here," he said, turning away. Anna's fists clenched, the vial shard drawing blood. "You're wrong," she said, her voice cutting through the noise. "I'm not what you think, and I'll prove it." Mark lunged, grabbing her arm again, but Anna twisted free, shoving him back. He stumbled, crashing into a stack of bins, the clatter silencing the crowd for a moment. Tom stepped forward, his face red with anger. "You're done," he growled. Anna stood her ground, the crowd's phone still rolling, their whispers a deafening hum. She was alone, surrounded by people who'd already judged her guilty. But she thought of her mom's smile, Ethan's faith, and held her head high. "You can't break me," she said, her voice steel. "Not like you broke her." The guards hesitated, thrown by her defiance. Anna knew she couldn't fight them off forever, but she also knew Ethan was out there, and he'd never let her face this alone. Anna Carter stood defiant, the shard of her mother's shattered vial cutting into her bloodied palm, her eyes burning with resolve. The LAX terminal pulsed with tension. Mark Davis and Tom Reed, the security guards, flanked her, their faces hard. Lisa Bennett's smug grin taunted from behind the counter, while Brian Foster, the manager, dismissed her with a wave, his words, "Take her out," still ringing. The crowd's phones captured every second, their whispers a mix of judgment and fleeting sympathy. Anna's chest heaved, her mother's ashes scattered at her feet, but she refused to break. She'd fought too hard, carried too much, to let them erase her. Then, like a quiet force cutting through the chaos, Ethan Parker appeared. Her brother, the young millionaire, stepped into the terminal, his black jacket plain, a cap pulled low. No entourage, no flash, just Ethan, the man who'd always been her anchor. The crowd hushed, some recognizing the tech prodigy from headlines, others drawn by the weight of his presence. He moved straight to Anna, ignoring the guards, the onlookers, everything but her. Dropping to one knee, he looked into her eyes, his voice soft but steady. "Anna, you okay?" Her throat tightened, tears spilling over as she nodded. "They broke Mom's ashes," she whispered, her voice cracking. Ethan's jaw clenched, pain flickering in his eyes, but he rested a hand on her shoulder, warm and grounding. "I'm here now," he said, then stood, turning to Brian. "Who did this to my sister?" His tone wasn't loud, but it carried a steel edge, each word heavy with protective fury. The air shifted, the crowd's murmurs fading under the weight of his question. Brian stammered, hands fidgeting. "Sir, it's a misunderstanding. We were following protocol." Ethan cut him off, his voice calm but unyielding. "Protocol? You humiliated her, destroyed something sacred and called her a criminal. That's not protocol. That's cruelty." He pulled out his phone, sliding it across the counter with a credit card. "Here's the proof. I bought her ticket. Email's there. My name, my payment, check it." Adams fumbled with the phone, scrolling through the confirmation Anna had tried to show. His shoulders slumped, his face paling. I see it. We got this wrong." Ethan didn't blink. "You didn't just get it wrong. You judged her because she doesn't look like your idea of worth. You owe her an apology, publicly, to every person who watched and filmed." His words weren't a request, they were a demand, rooted in love and justice. Lisa's smirk vanished, her arms dropping as she shrank under Ethan's gaze. Mark and Tom stepped back, their bravado crumbling. Anna watched, her heart swelling with gratitude but still heavy with hurt. Ethan turned to the crowd, his voice steady. "My sister's here to chase a dream. writing, creating, something our mom believed in. She worked as a janitor in this airport, taking insults like yours every day to give us a chance. And now you're doing the same to Anna." His words hung in the air, silencing the crowd. A woman in the back wiped her eyes while a man lowered his phone, shame crossing his face. Ethan's voice softened, but the pain was raw. "Our mom died fighting for us. Those ashes weren't just dust. They were her love, her sacrifice. You broke that, and you broke my sister's heart." Anna's tears fell faster, her hand clutching the vile shard. She saw their mother, frail but fierce, mopping floors, whispering dreams to her children, despite the world's cruelty. Ethan faced Brian again. "Fix this, not just for Anna, for everyone you've treated like they don't belong." Brian nodded, his voice shaky. "We'll make it right, Mr. Parker. She's cleared for her flight, upgraded to first class." Ethan's eyes didn't soften. "And your policies? Change them. No one else should go through this." Anna swiped at her face, the weight of Ethan's words sinking in. He wasn't just fighting for her, he was fighting for their mother, for every invisible worker who'd been dismissed. He turned back to Anna, his hand gentle on her arm. "Mom would have been proud," he said, his voice thick with memory. "She always said you had her fire." Anna's chest ached, love and grief intertwining. She thought of her mother's last days, Ethan holding her hand, promising to look after Anna. He was keeping that promise now, standing between her and a world that tried to tear her down. The crowd shifted, some still filming, but the mood had changed. Less spectacle, more reckoning. Anna felt Ethan's strength fueling her own, but the pain of the ashes, the humiliation, lingered. "Thank you," she whispered, barely audible. Ethan squeezed her shoulder. "Always, Anna. You're my family." His words were a lifeline, pulling her back from the edge. She wasn't alone anymore, but the fight wasn't over. Not yet. Anna Carter sank into the plush seat of the first-class cabin, the hum of the plane's engines, a faint comfort against the storm still raging in her heart. Beside her, Ethan Parker settled in, his presence steady as ever. The chaos of the LAX terminal, Lisa's accusations, the shattered vial of their mother's ashes, the crowd's judging eyes, felt worlds away, yet the pain clung to Anna like a shadow. Her hand, still stained with blood from the broken glass, clutched the jagged shard, its edges a reminder of what she'd lost. She stared out the window, the runway lights blurring through unshed tears. Ethan didn't push her to talk, just waited, his silence warm and patient. Finally, Anna's voice broke the quiet, small and raw. "I failed her, Ethan. I couldn't protect Mom's ashes." Her eyes stayed fixed on the darkness outside, guilt heavy in her words. Ethan leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his gaze soft but sure. "Anna, you didn't fail. You fought for her memory out there, for who she raised you to be. That's what she'd care about." Anna's throat tightened, tears spilling over. "But they broke her. They treated her like nothing, just like they did when she was alive." She thought of their mother, her calloused hands scrubbing floors at LAX, her tired smile hiding the weight of endless shifts. "She deserved better," Anna whispered. "From them, from me." Ethan reached over, his hand covering hers, careful not to touch the shard. "You get better. From you, from us. Every time you fight, you're carrying her forward." His words cracked something open in Anna, a mix of grief and gratitude. She turned to him, her voice trembling. "You always make it sound so simple. How do you do it, after everything?" "Mom, the way people treated you before you made it, how do you keep going?" Ethan's eyes softened, shadowed with memories. "I don't," he said quietly. "Not always. Early on, investors laughed me out of rooms, called me a nobody from nowhere. It hurt. But Mom's voice was louder. She'd say, 'They don't see you yet, Ethan. Show them.'" Anna's lips twitched, a faint smile breaking through. "She said that to me too." "Show them, Anna. Write your heart out." She looked down at the shard, her thumb tracing its edge. "I wanted to do that in Chicago, to write something that'd make her proud, but now, I don't know if I can." Ethan squeezed her hand. "You can. You will. What happened out there? It's not the end of your story. It's the start of a bigger one. Anna's chest loosened, Ethan's faith stirring something in her. She thought of her mother's stories, told in their cramped apartment, weaving dreams from nothing. I want to write about her, Anna said, the idea sparking, sudden and fierce. Not just her. Everyone like her, the janitors, the workers, the people this world ignores. I want their stories to matter. Ethan's eyes lit up, pride shining through. That's it, Anna. That's your fire, Mom's fire. Turn this pain into something they can't ignore. She nodded, the weight of the day shifting. Not gone, but different. She was invisible to them, Anna said, her voice steadier. Pushing her mop, taking their trash, their insults, but she saw me. She saw us. Ethan's voice grew rough, heavy with memory. She did. Even when she was dying, she'd talk about you, how your stories would change the world. She believed in you, Anna, more than anything. Tears fell again, but these were softer, laced with healing. Anna saw their mother's face, worn but radiant, whispering love through her final days. Ethan had sat by her bedside, holding her hand, promising to protect Anna. That promise lived in him now, in every word, every glance. You kept her alive for me, Anna said, her voice barely audible. You always do. Ethan's eyes glistened, but he smiled. We keep her alive together. The plane's fume filled the silence, a moment of shared grief and strength. Anna thought of Ethan's own fight, dismissed as a scrappy kid with big ideas, yet he'd built an empire, not for fame, but for them, for their mother's legacy. You were like me once, she said, meeting his gaze, judged, pushed down. How'd you make them see you? Ethan chuckled, the sound warm. I didn't. I made me see me, the rest followed. Anna let his words sink in, her heart stitching itself back together. The shard in her hand wasn't just loss, it was proof of who she was, who her mother had been. She wasn't just a girl in a hoodie, shamed at a check-in counter. She was Anna Carter, a writer, a daughter, a force. With Ethan beside her, she felt that truth take root, ready to grow into something bigger than the pain. The plane's engines rumbled, poised for takeoff, but Anna Carter stood abruptly, her backpack slung over her shoulder, the shard of her mother's vial still clutched in her hand. Ethan Parker looked up, his brow furrowing. Anna, what's wrong? Her eyes, red from tears but burning with purpose, met his. I'm not going, she said, her voice steady. Chicago's my dream, but this... She gestured vaguely toward the terminal they'd left behind. This is Mom's fight. I'm staying at L.A. Ethan's surprise softened into understanding, a quiet pride flickering in his gaze. You sure? He asked, standing to join her. Anna nodded, her heart pounding with a clarity she hadn't felt before. Mom spent her life here, invisible, cleaning up after people who never saw her. I can't just fly away. I need to make them see us, me, all the people like us. Ethan squeezed her shoulder, his voice low, and we'll do it together. They stepped off the plane, back into the bustling terminal where Anna's world had unraveled hours before. The crowd had dispersed, but the weight of their stares lingered in her memory. She thought of the ashes scattered on the floor, the vial shard now a symbol not of loss but of resolve. As they walked, Anna spotted a familiar figure, a woman in a janitor's uniform, pushing a mop. Her name tag read Maria, and his breath caught. Ethan, she whispered. She knew Mom. Approaching Maria, Anna's voice trembled. Excuse me, did you work with a janitor named Ellen Carter? Maria's eyes widened, her mop pausing. Ellen? Oh, honey, she was my friend, the kindest soul, always helping us through long shifts. Maria's face softened, then grew heavy. She took so much from this place. Rude passengers, mean supervisors. But she never stopped smiling for you and your brother. Anna's tears welled up, but she smiled. That was her. Maria hugged Anna, her embrace warm and worn, like her mother's had been. She'd be so proud of you, standing up like you did. Anna's chest ached, love and purpose intertwining. I want to keep her light going, she said. Here, where she fought. Maria nodded, pointing to a group of janitors nearby. Start with them. They've got stories like your mom's, stories no one hears. Anna turned to Ethan, her voice firm. I'm starting something. A group, a voice for the workers here, for passengers like me who get judged and pushed aside. Ethan's eyes shone with pride. I'm in, whatever you need. Resources, connections, I've got you. Anna felt a spark ignite, not just for herself, but for every invisible soul her mother had stood beside. She saw them now. Janitors, baggage handlers, people dismissed by the system, their dreams buried under the weight of others' disdain. Back at the terminal, Anna met with Maria and a handful of workers, their faces etched with fatigue but lit with hope. They shared stories of ignored complaints, unfair wages, passengers who treated them like shadows. Anna listened, her writer's heart capturing every word, every pain. We'll make them listen, she promised, her voice carrying her mother's strength. She envisioned a campaign, petitions, community forums, a book to amplify their voices, starting with her mother's. Word of Anna's ordeal had spread, the crowd's videos exploding online with hashtags like Justice for Anna. Comments poured in, this is why we need change, she didn't deserve that. The pressure hit LAX's management hard. A public statement followed, promising staff retraining and policy reviews to address bias. Anna read it on her phone, Ethan at her side, but she wasn't satisfied. It's a start, she said, but we'll keep pushing until it's real. Days later, Anna stood in the terminal, holding a new glass vial, not for ashes, but for slips of paper, each one a dream from a worker she'd met. Better wages, one read. Respect, said another. She added her own. A world that sees us. The vial was her mother's legacy, a promise to fight on. Ethan watched her, his voice quiet but fierce. Mom's smiling, Anna. I feel it. Anna nodded, her heart full, the pain of that day now fuel for something greater. This wasn't about one flight or one apology. It was about love that endured, strength that rose from brokenness. Anna wasn't just Ellen Carter's daughter or Ethan Parker's sister. She was a voice, a spark, ready to rewrite the stories of those the world overlooked. Standing where her mother once worked, she felt her presence, guiding her forward. The fight was just beginning, and Anna was ready. Anna's stand at LAX hits hard because it's not just her story. It's a mirror for anyone who's been judged, dismissed, or made to feel small. The way she turned pain into purpose, staying to fight for the invisible, shows what real strength looks like. I believe we all carry a spark like Anna's, ready to challenge systems that crush the voiceless. But maybe you think she should have taken the flight, chased her own dream instead of others. What's your take? Does fighting for change outweigh personal goals? Or is it too much to carry? Thanks for diving into this story with me. It means the world. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button if it moved you, and subscribe for more stories that spark real talk. Let's keep the conversation going.